Hello and welcome to another video from oorail. In this video we're going to weather a couple of HSTs. These are all Inter-City 125 HSTs, and the original Bior blue and yellow. Now the reason we're going to go and weather these up is that in the next couple of days or a week or so we have our 125 video coming up. It's actually going to be our 125th video uploaded to YouTube on the channel. So what I wanted to do for that particular video is focus on the Inter-City 125. And so in preparation for that, I'm going to go and weather some of these so that they'll look pretty cool in that video. Now it does take a few days for all of the lacquer and stuff to dry, and then for you to test run and so on. So these are 2 power cars and 2 dummy cars that I got from Trains and Railways in Scotland. And there are 2 sets. This is 253-001. This is the other part of it. And then we have 253-005 and 253-005 as well. So one of the things that we have is these are all duplicates for ones I already have. So we're going to weather it up so that you don't actually have to renumber it. But we're not going to heavily weather it. If you've seen my previous HST weathering video, we went all out and heavily weathered the HST, like maybe it was coming down from Scotland or something like that, through heavy snow. With these we're actually going to lightly weather them. So we're just going to go with some weathering along the roof, very light weathering down the side and along the top of the roof, maybe just slight weathering there so you could see the curve that the windshield or windscreen wiper makes. And that's basically it. So these are all second hand and they haven't been cleaned up or anything, so I just thought I'd show you basically what I do to prepare the HSTs. So I'm just going to do it on this one. This is a dummy car. So what I'm going to do with the dummy car is basically just clean it up. So you just take the HST like so and give it a good clean with this. Make sure you get the bogie, the wheels, front. And you're just looking to get all the dust and all the other grime and stuff, and obviously don't forget the back as well. And so if I set that back down, you can see now that it looks a good bit cleaner. In fact, if I just put it a little bit better under the light there, you can see that it's a good bit cleaner. In fact, if I move the light that way, it might look a bit better. Okay, so you can see we've just gotten all the dust off it and so on. So I'm going to do the same thing with this power car for the same pair. Okay, so it's not much to that, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let those dry for a few minutes, and then what I'm going to do is basically take them apart. So I'm going to separate the body shell from the bogie, possibly take the motor out, service it if it needs servicing, and then I'm going to take the light lenses out here and put them up in silver around the outside edge, and we're also going to fill in the bits here on the roof in silver as well, so that when we weather them they look a bit more realistic. And we'll also put the black paint around the rim of the windscreen. Okay, so that's going to take a little while, so I'm going to go do those. If you want to see exactly how we did that, you can look at the other HST video, but this one was more just to show you the light weathering. So I'm going to prep all 4 of them, and then we'll come back. Okay, so you can see here we have cleaned up and disassembled the 4 HST sets. We've got some black acrylic paint and one of the fine applicators, and we're going to use this to basically paint the seals around the windows and also to blacken the area in behind the lights. And we'll also blacken the seals at the back of the logo as well. And we're going to paint these areas here and these areas here with the kind of silver aluminum color. And then we're going to use the black paint to fill in the lines once it's dried. So what we'll probably do first, just so I don't have to keep recycling the applicators, are to paint these all silver with the paint pen. And just going here, this is the aluminum / silver paint pen. It's pretty straightforward. You just shake it, pop it open, and apply it. So I'm going to go and let these dry and take some time to figure out exactly which photos of HSTs I'm going to duplicate for this particular project, and then we'll show you the results. So you can see here we've outlined each of the lenses with the silver paint. I'll show you how clear that is, but they've all been outlined. We've outlined the 2 areas on the roof as well, where the vents are, that are covered in silver paint. So if I turn it up that way, you can see. Alright, so we're going to let those dry, and then we'll add in the detail with the black paint, mix it around here in the lines and so on, and along the roof panel, and then we'll put it all back together and weather it. Okay, so you can see here we have pretty much completed the silver on the top. We've completed the headlamps, and we've actually painted inside where the headlamp goes. One thing I wanted to show you with the lenses was that you can take a red permanent marker, and if I zoom in here, like so, there are 2 little dots on the outside edge. So what we're going to do is just color those in. So you just get the marker started on a piece of paper and color that lens in, just a circle part, like so. And then what that will do, if I flick it around, you can see there it's created like a little red tinge to it, and this, when it's lit, will actually look pretty close to the real thing, or as close to the real thing as you're going to get with a 1980s HST. And so you can see the same thing on that side. And the final, you can see there's about a red tinge to it. Then all you do is zoom back out. Then all you do is just reinsert the lenses like so. They won't fit exactly perfectly right. They never do, but you get them in as best as you can. And there you have it. What we're going to do next is basically weather these up. I'm not actually going to tape weathering them. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to use streaks and just a small piece along the bottom here, and some of the black weathering powder along the top. So I'll get to work on that using some photos as a guide, and we'll post the results. Okay, so the last piece that we have to do is to weather up the undercarriages for the dummy and for the power car. In the previous video where I weathered the HST, I did it all as one piece, and that works fine, but you have to be careful if you do the spraying wrong, or you get any of that weathering powder into the motor. You can end up having to dismantle the motor and put it back together. Now, the one I did when I sprayed it all together, I still had to maintain the motor anyway, so I wasn't really too worried about it. So once I actually had it all sprayed up and let it sit there for a few days, I actually took it apart, dismantled the motor, cleaned the whole motor, put it back together, put new brushes in it, and as you saw in the video there, that it worked pretty well. So what we're going to do in this video is actually show you, if you have a working power car, you may not want to just spray it. You run the risk of getting some of that varnish into the bogies and into the motor and so on. So I'm going to show you how to basically dismantle it. Now, dismantling the power car and the dummy car are basically the same thing. You can see here they use all the same parts. The front bogie and the rear bogie are actually exactly the same, and the rear bogie just has the air tank adapter thing that's clipped on the bottom of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it with the power car, but basically it's the same thing with the dummy car, just without the motor. So where you'd unclip this from the motor of the dummy, you'd unclip it from the bogie. So I'm going to set this aside and show you how to do it. So the first thing you want to do is remove the motor. So what we're going to do is unplug that and unplug that, and you can see there the motor is now free of both wires. If you're not familiar with these, you may want to make a note of which sides they go in. Now if you look here, you can see there's a kind of a triangular, half triangular shaped knot kind of clip here, and then a rectangular clip here, and all you do is you push that to release it, and it should pop out slowly. You release it all the way, and then what's happened is, be careful with that, the clip there for the brush had gotten stuck on the outside. That should just clip right out. And then if you want to remove the air tanks, they just pop off like that, so you can weather those separately. And then to remove the motor, you just very carefully pull the plastic piece here with the triangular shape back, push on the wheel, it should pop out. Like so. So you have the motor, you have the bogie, and you just basically do the same with the rest. So just make sure those aren't bent, and you can still have both the springs, you don't want to lose those. Yeah, let's remove the weight, and then from the other end, swing this around so you can see. You're going to remove this plastic piece, and when you do that, the other two pieces pop right out, and then you're just going to set that aside because it's clipped into the bogie. So you're going to remove that one from the bogie, so that gives you that. And then this one is in there as well. So what you're going to do is just like the other bogie, is you take your finger, pop that, and it drops right out. And you can see there that one is wired in there. So rather than disconnecting it from this, I'm going to just disconnect it from this because it's easier to run that wire. Okay, so at this point you have the cab out. So if you want to paint detail onto the cab, or enhance it in any way, you can always look at some photos online and paint that. You can also maybe print out something and glue it to it, but make it look photorealistic, but that's up to you. So you're going to set aside all the stuff you don't want to weather, which would be the motor, the weight, the wires, and then you can remove the wheels here from the bogie. This is going to be equally. If you look here, there's actually two clips. There's a clip there and a clip there that holds it in. So when I'm bending this back, I'm actually trying to get it past that clip, as you can see there, and then it should just pop right out. And you can see there with the non-powered bogie, the wheels also come off, and this might be a good time to just clean the whole lot. This is a set that's probably about 1980s, so probably 32, 33 years old, so it wouldn't hurt to clean all those parts. And so the bits that you're left with to weather, now you may also want to remove the bulb. So you be careful with it, because it's pretty old. Alright, so what you're left with are two bogies, air tank, and the underframe. And so the next step is to clean it. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up. I'm using just some cheap baby wipes, but they just happen to be right next to me here. You can pretty much use anything you want. Just want to get it clean. You can see here somebody has kind of weathered this or oiled this with 3-in-1 at some point. You can see the nasty 3-in-1 residue on the underside of the motor. Now, Hornby used to recommend using 3-in-1. You should probably use a synthetic. Oil in order to oil stuff. It's plastic safe. You can see there's just dirt and not other stuff from. It's probably in somebody's bedroom. So some carpet fibers and so on it. And once you get that clean, you move on, clean the air tank, and then you can wrap it up by cleaning the main bogie. Under frame here. So just might as well clean the whole thing while you're at it. So there you go. So I'm going to go clean the rest of it while I let this to dry. So you have the wheels here. You don't need to really take these apart. This would also be a good time to paint these. So if you want to paint the outer area here black, it's a good time to do that. How's the look? Of course, if you do paint this side, you probably also want to paint the motor side. And of course, remember, once you've done weathering this, you will want to oil the appropriate locations, which include the axles and so on. Alright, so this should have dried at this point. So set aside the bits we don't want to weather. And grab another baby wipe, and this time we're going to use it to set the weathering locations. So again, you're just going to want to. Now remember these little tabs here, you can see them very well, the light, but there's a tab there and there's a tab there. Those actually come through the side of the body shell. See, it's very important that you get those at least weathered, otherwise you may have these little black marks that don't quite look in place. You also don't want to too heavily weather them, otherwise they might look out of place with the body shell. Remember, you only have to weather the sides and the back and so on. And one thing we haven't done in this video yet is you can add some additional detail, like painting the back of the car door connectors and that kind of thing, if you want to add the C numbers and so on, but that's up to you. Depends on how closely you're going to use these. These, my layout, are going to basically be used kind of in motion around the layout. Some of them may be used statically in the station, so the ones I put statically in the station I may end up adding some detail to them. But usually you're not going to see a whole lot of that detail as it flies around the layout at speed. Alright, so you can see there we've got that all cleaned up. So the next part is just to weather it, and we're just going to use the earth tones. We're not going to use the black for this. And we're going to start here in the middle, and just like we did with the body shell, you want to weather it heavily in a certain place and then use the leftover parts to dull down the top part. Now, you have to be careful with some of these weathering powders, as they do have like white and yellow and other colors, maybe in kind of not quite ground down blocks. But you can see here the weathering powder is bringing out the detail in the model. You can see here where the notch is. We're being careful to make sure that we weather that enough so it looks weathered, but not quite enough that it looks too bad. Remember to weather up and down. And one thing you might notice here is when I apply these weathering powders to the body shell and to the chassis here, you can see there's a bit of smoke coming off. If you have any kind of respiratory problem like asthma or something like that, especially if you're a kid, you might want to wear a mask when you're doing this, just so you don't inhale these weathering powders. Pretty sure they're pretty safe, but you don't want to kind of aggravate any kind of respiratory problem you might have. But you can see here, I'm sure you can see it in the video, but there's a pretty decent amount of dust coming up when I apply these. So there you can see we got the undercarriage down there. So I'm going to do the other side in a minute, but let's move on to the air tanks. So the air tanks go on this way, they clip downwards, so just want to make sure that you get them properly weathered. All the detail is actually on the underneath, so you want to make sure you weather that up pretty good. see there, putting the light, weathered up pretty well. So next we're going to move on to the bogies. It's been a few minutes since I've done this, so we're just going to basically add some more. Alright, so you got the blank bogie there. Maybe adjust the light here. Make that a bit easier to see. And you just basically toss the weathering powders on there. Remember, on the HST, this piece here that's used to kind of control the turns, it will come through, so you want to make sure you weather it as well. Make sure you remember to get the edges, like so. Remember, you want to weather it enough, remember, then you that it looks dirty but not disused. Now when you spray this, you'll lose, like I said, with these particular weathering powders, you lose about a third to half, so it's quite safe to kind of over weather them, and then you'll end up with a pretty nice result anyway. If you're looking to heavily weather something, you may end up having to do a couple of coats, so once you've weathered and sprayed it, to make sure that it works, you may want to add more weathering powder, and then respray it. And you can do that layered approach as well if you want to add specific details, or if you want to do this in a more controlled manner. You know, maybe add a little bit of weathering, test it out, you're happy with it, spray it, and then if you decide you want more weathering, you can add that on later. And remember, if you do mess up a layer, once it's been varnished, it's kind of stuck on there, so if you wipe off, you can wipe off another layer. So for example, if I was to spray this because I was happy with it, and then try to weather it with another color and it didn't look right, I can wipe it off and I'd still be left with this particular weathering underneath because it had been varnished up. Alright, and so that's the bogie. And then basically what you do next, actually what I'm going to do, since I have this off here, is I'm actually going to weather the back of it as well. And the reason I'm doing that is I may not put the air tanks back on, or from the front. Maybe I'll get a camera shot in there with the HD camera that you can see the black underneath, so weathering that makes a bit of sense. So what we're going to do next is weather the outer bogie and weather the other side of this, and then we're going to go varnish it. I'll let it sit for about 24 hours, and then we'll reassemble it, and we should be good to go. And there you have it. So you can see that the weathered locomotive works perfectly fine once it's been put back together. You can see it looks pretty realistic. I've managed to get rid of that kind of high visibility yellow kind of orangey color that was on the model by using the weathering powders. I have a couple of these now that I've put back together, so in the next video you should see a couple more HSTs configured like this. And this particular HST has been configured in class 254 configuration. You can see the front end of the nose cone has been sort of weathered up to hide the original class 253 numbering, and the sides have been weathered up to hide and disguise the West Coast weathering, and it looks pretty decent. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. We'll spin it around the layout a few more times, and then we'll wrap it up. So here you can see the difference between the weathered power car and the unweathered power car. You can see there it looks a lot more realistic. No longer has that kind of plastic shiny kind of look to it, and it's pretty straightforward to do. So hope you found this video useful, and until next time.